All right. Today I want to talk to you about role models. Well, what does being a role model mean? And how do we select our role models? All right. So this video, this channel, this whole project is me on purpose suggesting or illuminating or revealing or simply just discussing good habits, how to obtain them, citing people that have done the work, the legwork per se of finding out how to do better in life, how to lead a more satisfied, purposeful, life. So a role model is someone that you can model your behavior after, someone you can emulate, someone you can copy and bring their habits into your life. Okay, so the thing with role models is you can't become too enamored or trusting or faithful in the person, because if you do that, you're making the mistake of forgetting that nobody's perfect. All right, I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, you're not perfect just like I know I'm not perfect. All right, so if you do good things in your life, you would want your kids or your friends or your a perfect stranger to emulate that, so there would end up being more good behaviors going on in the world, right? So we're all role models to one extent or another. Now there's the idea of positive and negative. All right, so you can be a negative role model or a positive role model. All right, but it's not as simple as that. I may be being a good role model right now by trying to put out some good words, but 2 minutes from now I could be screaming at somebody in traffic, pissed off. So it's not as cut and dry as that person's good, that person's bad as far as role models go. Everybody has their positive and their negative attributes that they display, and it's up to every person, it's up to you to pick out those good qualities and those bad qualities. And sometimes they're neither here nor there, good or bad, but they're just qualities. Okay, now as you select the attributes of another person to model your life after or model your habits after, as long as you're specific about what you want to bring into your life, you literally can pick anybody and make them a central role model in your life. One of my role models, believe it or not, is Joe Exotic. Not because I want to be like him in his personality 100%, or I don't want to create a cult-like followings around tigers. I want to be like Joe Exotic because the guy was constantly filming, constantly recording his life and his experiences, and he wanted to be a star, and he put in the work to do it, and eventually he made it one way or another. DMX, good things and bad things. in the personality and the persona and the personhood of DMX. Why do I want to be more like DMX? The dude was spiritual and he wasn't afraid to talk about it. He struggled and he wasn't afraid to admit it and cast out the demons of doubt when it came to that. He was upfront. He was a stand-up guy. He was assertive, loud. I've always been someone that wants to be loud, wants to be assertive, and I've worked on how do I best incorporate those qualities into my life. All right? Jesus Christ. Excellent role model. But all we get from Jesus Christ is what the preacher says most of the time. Most of us haven't read the red words in the Bible, which oftentimes will paint a completely different picture of Jesus than what we may know as peace-loving and so on and so forth. The thing about role models is oftentimes, like Jesus, all we hear is the myth of the man or of the woman. And we don't hear, or we choose to discard, the negative qualities. But just like we have to recognize the positive, negative, good and bad, desirable, undesirable traits in ourselves, we must recognize them in others if we really want to have role models. So it's not so much finding a role model, but finding roles that you would like to model. And it's a struggle. If you see a homeless person pushing a shopping cart down the street, that person can be a role model to you. If they have their stuff organized, they know where everything's at, they have all of their possessions together, they may be doing a better job at it than you do with your house and your car and your million things that you have. So we have to be more selective, more nuanced with how we follow people and model our lives after them, because today they're doing something that is worthy of being followed. Tomorrow you catch them on a bad day, they're out of sorts, you might not want to model that behavior. One-handed catches, Odell Beckham Jr. One-handed catches, yes. Throwing fits on the sideline, no. And that also gives us room for an attribute that we all have, which is the ability to grow. Is Odell Beckham Jr. throwing fits on the sideline as much as he used to? No. The guy's becoming less of a diva per se. He's becoming a more mature, responsible, and serious professional person, along with still showcasing amazing skills on the football field. Okay? Amazing athletic and physical dedication to athletics and to perfecting his craft. Okay? So it's not as simple as you're a good role model or you're a bad role model. I have good habits and I have bad habits. I do some things really good, and some things I have to fail at more times than others before I become good at them. All right, so that's a quick word on role models. there's a poem, and it's one of my favorite poems. It starts out, I'd rather see a sermon than to hear one any day. I would rather one walk with me than just to show the way. The eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Advice can be misleading, but examples are always clear. All right. So with the cancel culture that we have, and the obsessive celebrity culture that we have, and different things that are part of the cultural landscape for us as human beings in this globalized world, we have to practice our selectivity, our nuanced perspective on people's appealing or not appealing traits. And we have to make these decisions for ourselves. What helps us make these decisions? Well, one of the biggest things is information. You want to get as much information, as much background, not only on these individuals that you're modeling your life after, but on what qualifies as something I want or I don't want in my habits or my life. All right. And that's when Energy versus Essence comes in. Stay tuned for some good videos, because that's what it's all about. Is not how do I be a role model, or how do I find a role model, or this guy on the YouTube is a role model. It's how do I find model or roles that I can model? How is it that I can find good habits to form? And how do I go about forming those habits? Okay, habits make the person. So continue to look up to the people that you look up to, for whatever reason you look up to them, but understand that they're not always going to be the person that you want them to be. And when they are not, when they can't live up to the reasons you admire them, you can't make excuses for that person, just like you can't make excuses for yourself. And so you now have a better level of expectation. Okay. And the level of expectation for yourself and for others is the most critical part. So that's been a word about role models. Hopefully it was informative. Hopefully it gave you a new perspective. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and share. You know the drill.